Mama kitty. Mama cat's busy. There's a motorcycle. It got me home. I'll tell you about my adventure that happened. Right after my other little video, I decided I was going to take a little break, drink some water, take it easy. You know, it's about 5:30 in the afternoon. I only had about 15 more miles of trail to ride. It wasn't too bad. There were some mud holes and some rocky stuff, and some ups and downs, and, you know, it wasn't bad. I was having a pretty good time. I end that video, go to get back on the bike, put my helmet on, have a seat, and hit the button, and whoa, it just died. You know, it just tries to tries to turn over about 2 times, and so slow, and it just dies. So, I get my booster. Where's it at? I got a little booster, little Walmart booster pack thing that's like worth its weight in gold in a situation like that. It busted me off, and I was already about 8 or 10 miles in. I had about maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 more to go. I was almost to the halfway point, and I was thinking I could either go back the way I come in, or I could keep on going. And I thought, well, I'll just keep on going. You know, it's about half a dozen one, you know, 6 of the other. Basically is what it was boiling down to. So I'll just keep going. You know, shit, if it dies, if it don't start, it doesn't matter if it does it on this end of the trail or that end of the trail or where it is. I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. Either way, I was in the middle of nowhere. So you just got to pick a way and go. So I decided to just keep going. I went about another mile. Kept going through these sporadic mud holes. They weren't real muddy. They were just like, almost like water crossings where little creeks and stuff kind of cross this. It's like the mountains that go up and down. You go up for a while, and then you go down for a while. And then you always knew when you was going down, there was going to be a mud hole at the bottom of the down. Then you start going back up again. Well, I'd gone through several of them. They all started looking about the same. They all I wrote them all about the same. There was nothing too technical about it. You know, it wasn't terribly muddy or anything like that. It hadn't rained up there in a while or anything, but it was just, you know, it got kind of, after you go through a dozen of them, it's like, oh, well, it's just another one. Well, then I finally hit one that was basically bottomless, flooded the, you know, water in the air box. It got up to the bottom of the seat, the water, that's how deep the shit was. And it didn't look just like all the rest of them. Flooded her out. Now, keep in mind I'm on a bike that I'm having to start with the booster pack when all this shit happens. I wrestle with it till dark. I get it out of the mud hole. It was like a major ordeal. It was like a battle for inches to get that frick. I was 5 foot from dry ground, but it was in a hole, like where some big fucking stupid 4-wheel drive motherfucker got in there and just wallered it out. And it was about a 5 or 6 foot long hole that was almost as deep as that fucking motorcycle is tall. But I wrestled it out by laying it on its side, and the W, you know, it's like a shape like this from the fucking 4-wheel drives. The mud hole. So I was in a rut. So I'd lay it on the rut, lay it on where the axles of the stupid 4-wheel drives would go through there. I'd lay it on that, and then I'd get on this side of it and push with my legs this way on the crash bars and shove the motorcycle onto the hump where it's laying in the water, in the mud, and the water. I mean, I already had water in and everything, so it didn't matter. And I just started putting rocks in the hole. I carried rocks out of the fucking woods for hours. It was 4 hours. I got it out of there. The sun was down. I was just fixing to put my headlamp on, but I got it out. I got my last little bit of energy. I got that sumbitch out of there. Rolled it out of the mud. Put the kickstand down. I already had my bags all off of it because you had to make it as light as possible. Drug my hammock out. Set it up. Started cooking. I had 2 beers. I drank them. Got in the hammock. Fell asleep instantly. Woke up about an hour and a half later, shivering my ass off. The wind was whipping around. I was tied to these 2 trees about that big around, and it was like one of those rodeo things where they train little boys to ride, or little girls even, to ride in a rodeo. And a yank on a barrel and you like bounce around. That's the way I was in fucking habit when the wind started whipping them little trees are about that big around. And it was whipping them back and forth, and I was just like, I couldn't sleep. It was useless, and I was shivering. I had to put my rain gear on to keep from shivering my ass off. I didn't have a sleeping bag. I just had this sleeping bag cover. I figured it was going to be hot and muggy, but it wasn't. It wasn't cold. It was like 65 degrees, but when you're in a hammock and the wind's whipping on all sides of you, it just drains the heat out of your body so fast. But got up the next morning at daylight, drained the carb, mopped out the air box, put the booster pack on it, cranked right up. I was so impressed that it cranked right up. It really is. I can't complain about that motorcycle to get out of a situation like this. I'm not sure what the battery situation is because it's acting fine now. It's charging, working fine. Bought a new battery in Broken Bow on the way home. It was dead when I got here. Had to push it all the way from Broken Bow. Couldn't stop and get lunch. Here I was on an hour and a half hour sleep. I drank the last of my water on that trail. I had one can of that LaCroix lime that was warm, shook up in one of my bags that I knew it was in there, and I was like, I'm not drinking that unless I have to get off this motorcycle and start walking. I'm going to save that LaCroix to put in my backpack and walk the rest of the way out of here because I didn't have anything else. And I had a water filter system, but everything was so muddy and nasty and tadpoles and shit in it and everything. It didn't look like anything you would want to filter. And these creeks and shit, they weren't nice, clear, nice, clean running little creeks. They were like mud holes because of all the four-wheel drives and shit. Nobody had been through there in a while, and nobody come through there. I didn't see anybody else my whole time I was there. So it would have been me walking out of there basically and more than likely thumbing it because there wasn't a town at the end of the trail. It was just a freaking road through the mountains is all it was. It wasn't a town. So anyway, it was an adventure. I made it home. Sore shit the whole next day. This is like 2 days later now, and I got out and mowed and stuff a little bit today with a push mower. Feeling better, getting around. Doing a little eBay action. Farting with the motorcycle. I got to spray it, clean it off and everything. Finish unloading all my bags and everything. But I tell you, it goes to show you how things go. I was just having such a great time. I was like, boy, this is nice up here in Oklahoma. And I was actually thinking, you know what? I might spend 2 nights up here because I had an extra meal. I had stuff. I could have done 2 nights. I could have. I was thinking, you know what? I might stretch this little trip a little longer. Spend an extra day. Pretty nice. It wasn't terribly hot that day. It was cooler up in the mountains, and there was actually wispy clouds kind of coming through while I was riding. It was just nice. And boy, it went to hell fast. It really did. It just kind of shows you what happens when you're by yourself. You really don't need to do that kind of shit by yourself, but when you ain't got any choice, you ain't got anybody that rides on that kind of shit to go with you, you just go by yourself and you just make sure you can fucking get out of it, basically. That's all you do. Well, you see, I'll show you the bike, how muddy. I mean, here's the air box.